Hi, this is Leslie. Hope you're well. So I thought I'd give you a quick update on the chart of Bitcoin. Yesterday, as you probably saw, I covered the chart of stock markets. Today, I want to just take a quick look at the chart of Bitcoin here, and also a quick mention of Ethereum here as well, because as a matter of fact, both charts are going to be important here as we analyze what's likely happening on the chart of BTC. So one piece of good news here is that Bitcoin so far has managed to once again recover and get back above the blue line, the 21 weekly moving average. That's a positive sign. But is it enough to push Bitcoin back into an uptrend? Is it likely that Bitcoin has bottomed out? Let's examine the chart. All right, guys, join me. Alright guys, welcome back. So I want to make this video short and sweet, not too long, but I want to just cover the main points here. The first thing I want to say is this. To my mind, this drop that occurred, this very sharp drop that occurred in August, which dropped just below 50K, near 49K. In my view, that was an area of capitulation. What I mean by that is, a lot of people likely panicked when they saw Bitcoin dropping below 50K. They thought that 50K would likely hold, and when they saw it below 50K, that caused a lot of forced selling, especially traders. Traders in Bitcoin probably panicked here at this point, and that created a situation where the weak hands dropped out of Bitcoin, they panicked and sold, and I think that actually produced a much better bottoming structure. Now, I should say, it's too soon at this point to say with a high probability that Bitcoin has bottomed. However, in my personal point of view, the probabilities are increasing that Bitcoin is forming a bottom or very close to confirming a bottom here. And the reason is this. For one thing, as you can see, Bitcoin has managed to successfully gain ground and go back above the 21 weekly moving average. I mentioned this in my previous video about 2 weeks ago on Bitcoin as well. I said, watch this area. This line you see on my chart right there, that's the blue line. That's a 21 weekly moving average. And usually sustained moves above or below this level can give you an indication of whether the market wants to go back into a bull or a bear market. And typically, when price manages to successfully get above the 21 weekly, especially after having been below it, that's a good sign. It's a positive sign. However, because of there's so many false signals here, as you can see. I mean, Bitcoin dropped here below the 21 weekly and then went back above it and then went back below it again, went back above it, went back below it. So there's a lot of false signals, a lot of whipsaw, a lot of consolidation. As we can see, a lot of sideways, choppy movements here on Bitcoin. The closest thing I can find in the past on Bitcoin to this structure was the one that formed back in the year 2020, or I should say from 2019 to 2020. As you can see here, when Bitcoin dropped here below the 21 weekly, it then consolidated for quite a while. We can see it went back above the 21 weekly, went back below it, went back above it, went back below it, and a very sharp drop, and eventually it managed to gain ground after a very sharp drop that occurred just below 4,000 here. It managed to finally rally, gain ground above the 21 weekly moving average here. And what really sealed it, this is really interesting, what really sealed it here was this. If you just grab this tool, which is called regression trend or regression channel, so we grab that and then we just draw it from the high here to this low here, we can see after Bitcoin in that year, in 2020, managed to rally and get above and break through the top of that regression trend or regression channel, that was a good and positive sign. So not only did we see a break and a close above the 21 weekly, but also we got a break and a close above the regression channel here, especially this area here where the price managed to stay above the regression channel. That was a very positive sign here. And if we go back to the Bitcoin chart here, we can see a lot of consolidation, a lot of choppy movement here. Now I'm using a standard chart of Bitcoin, not a logarithmic chart. And the reason is that regression channels work a lot better on standard charts, non-logarithmic charts. So we're going to do it from the top to the low here. And notice we have the regression trend. So what we're looking for to confirm a bottom in Bitcoin is this. So we're above the 21 weekly. That's a good sign. All right. All I need to see now, I think what we need to see to give us extra degree of confirmation that Bitcoin has bottomed here is a nice clean break above the top of this regression channel, just like we saw in the previous example from 2020. Okay. And by the way, notice in the year 2020, after it broke, let me just have a look at that again. Notice after it broke that regression trend, regression channel, okay, it managed to then rally significantly higher. In fact, eventually it rallied all the way to the 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 levels in the next several months. As we can see here, we just draw this back. So there it is. So what I want to see on the current chart of Bitcoin is a breakout and ideally a close, when I say close, I mean a candle bar close, above the regression channel. For example, let's say if in the next few weeks, let's say in the next couple of weeks or the next month or so, if Bitcoin manages to see a breakout through the regression channel here, and ideally above this high near 65K, I would say I would need to see a break above 67K just to make it more likely. But a sustained move above 65K and ideally above this level here, 67K, that would make it much more likely that Bitcoin has bottomed. Okay, I should say, personally, my own gut feeling is that Bitcoin has bottomed. I think that this drop, as I mentioned earlier a few minutes ago, I think because this drop caused a lot of panic and the weak hands got out of the market, I think that was a likely capitulation event. So I think the odds have already increased that Bitcoin has bottomed out. But nevertheless, just to be on the side of caution here, because we don't have confirmation just yet, just to be extra cautious and indeed just to wait for that extra degree of confirmation, what I would prefer to see is a breakout through this regression channel. I want to see Bitcoin finally breaking out above 65K and 67K. My personal gut feeling, based on experience and also some of the data I'm seeing, is that is, I think, what is going to happen. So my personal point of view is that eventually we're going to see Bitcoin breaking out through this regression channel. Okay, now I could be wrong about that. Let me just say I could be wrong. So that's why I would prefer to see Bitcoin confirm that by actually breaking through that resistance of this regression channel, the top of this dark blue line you're seeing there. By the way, keep your eye on Ethereum as well, because usually when Ethereum makes the same breakout through resistance, that actually would increase the likelihood that Bitcoin has bottomed as well. Now, Ethereum seems to have held this supporting trend line, but what we don't have yet on Ethereum is a breakthrough this 21 weekly moving average here, about 2820 approximately, and this recent high that it made about the same level. So what we need to see on Ethereum is a sustained move, some kind of breakout, and ideally a candle bar close above this level, 2820 approximately. If we get more pressure, more sustained strength above this level, above this recent resistance, the 21 weekly moving average, and the recent high it made there, a breakout through that would be a very strong indication and confirmation that likely Ethereum is bottomed, and also be a positive sign for Bitcoin as well. So that's really what we're waiting for. But the one important thing I want to mention here, which is this, that again, I'm looking at this from the point of view of risk as well. Whenever we're doing analysis, we always have to look at risks as well. We should never ignore risks. So what I want to say is this: if Bitcoin, for any reason, were to drop below this support, for example, if Bitcoin, now let me just say this, I don't expect this, but if Bitcoin in the next few weeks or months were to break down below this support, below the supporting level that you're seeing here, about 52,500, okay, that would be a very dangerous sign. So if Bitcoin broke down below the September low here, approximately 52,500, then that would be a very dangerous sign of increasing risk for Bitcoin, and that would mean a breakdown potentially below the 49K and much lower levels. And by the way, the danger for that would increase even more if Ethereum also broke down below its September low. Now, I should say, I'm only mentioning this from the point of view of risk, okay? I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. Okay, so personally, I think the odds are turning favorable, more positive for Bitcoin. I only mentioned this support level here at a September low just from the point of view of risk in case Bitcoin were to break down below that level, because that would be a significant sign of danger and a potential reversal. However, guys, I should say that that's not what I'm expecting, because the odds, again, because Bitcoin has managed to recover and move above the 21 weekly, and because we're not far away from breaking through that regression channel resistance, to me, I think the odds actually are turning more towards a breakout to the upside than the downside. Okay, so personally, my own point of view is that it's much more likely for Bitcoin to break through the upside, this regression channel. Let me say again, I could be wrong. So let's just wait and be patient for Bitcoin to actually confirm that by breaking through that resistance, as we have it here, just approximately 65 to 67K. Okay, so let's see what Bitcoin does in the next few weeks. But that would, a breakout through that would make it much more likely that Bitcoin has bottomed out. And indeed, the break of resistance here would make it more likely for Bitcoin to rally to the next upper target as well. By the way, make sure you watch today's members video as well, because in the members video I've covered